Hello everyone, good evening to all. Just confirm me once in the chat box that my voice is audible and this PDF file is visible to you so that we can start our discussion. Okay. So today let's start our discussion. So before moving ahead, screen is not visible very soon. Now I suppose screen is also visible. So today we are going to discuss on a very much important subject, on a very much important topic about the section number 16 subsection 2, which is related to the eligibility of input tax credit. Okay. And also we have one most important issue, or we have a biggest problem, that how we can claim the input tax credit through the GSTR to be written, and how we can reconcile our books of accounts, or how we can reconcile our books input tax credit with the GSTR to be written. Okay, so we are going to provide the solution of all of these type of questions to you in this particular webinar. Okay, the mode of communication of this webinar will be in Hindi and English both. Will try to use English language more, and will also discuss certain things in Hindi and will convert the same into English. Okay, I also request to everyone that if possible, then just prepare certain notes of the important points. Okay, just take one pen and paper with you, so that if you found any important topic, if you found any special point, in that case just prepare the notes of that point as well. Okay, so this session is important for tax authorities and taxpayer both. This session will be important for the tax professionals. Okay, we are also going to discuss on a very specific AI tool related to the reconciliation of GSTR to be input tax credit with the books of accounts at last. Okay, that means in this particular webinar I am going to provide you the solution of your each and every problem related to your eligibility of input tax credit. Okay, and also I will give you idea about certain more important things which plays a very important role in our day-to-day practice. Okay, next, if possible, I just request to everyone, try to share this particular video or try to share this webinar with other your professional friends, other your tax authorities, so that each one can get the benefit of this particular free webinar. Okay, now let's start our discussion on this important point, on this important subject, that is eligibility of input tax credit. Eligibility of input tax credit, how one can decide the eligibility of input tax credit, because generally our client is sending the GSTR 3B return or GSTR uh, 3B return to us, and we are going to claim the input tax credit based on the GSTR 3B return sent it by the particular our client. Okay, we are not going to check the section number 16 subsection 2 key eligibility in maximum cases. Am I right? Because we are just going to take the input tax credit which is suggested by our client or which is generated by the accounting software, but we are not going to focus on the section part, on the provision part. But when there will be any litigation in future, or at that time if departmental authority will raise any demand on account of your mismatch of input tax credit, of or of your wrong availment of input tax credit, in that case your client will come to you and say that sir, आप क्या return file कर रहे थे, what you are doing with our returns, and how you are going to file the returns. वो उस समय इस आर्ग्यू को एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा about the professional fees and all those things. So this is my humble submission to you. When we are going to provide our professional services, when we are providing the services related to our return filing, at that time we need to file the proper return, because an accountant can also eligible to file the return. The point is that if our client is filing return with us as a chartered accountant, as a tax consultant, in that case this is our responsibility to file the proper return. Okay, so we'll start our discussion on certain techniques. I am not going to take your much more time, but in this limited amount of time I am going to discuss with you certain secrets about this input tax credit. Okay, and I just require one important thing from your side, that this session should be interactive. Okay, if you have any question, we have chat box. You just need to put the question in the chat box so that we can take your query immediately. We are not going to wait for the last moment. That is what is the rhythm of our session. Now, before reading the section number 16 subsection 2, we are going to discuss about the section number 16 subsection 1. Many times there is one confusion in our mind that why we need to read that particular section, or why we need to give more emphasis to this particular type of provisions of law for claiming the input tax credit. We know whatever data our client is sending, we just need to put in the GSTR 3B return and we need to claim the input tax credit. अगर यही करना होता, then why your client has appointed you for filing the return? That is what is the question. Okay, so let's start our discussion on this section number 16 subsection 1 of CGST Act. Okay, as per section number 16 subsection 1, all the input goods or services, all the input goods or services which is used in the course or furtherance of business, that input tax credit will be allowed to you. That means if any taxpayer is going to use any goods or services in the course or furtherance of business, in that case ITC will be allowed. That means if I have bought one air conditioner for my business premises, in that case ITC will be allowed for that air conditioners, because I am going to use that AC for my business. If I bought certain plant and machinery for my manufacturing processes, in that case input will be allowed because I am going to use that plant and machinery in the course or furtherance of my business. As per section number 16 subsection 1, whatever will be the input goods or services you are going to buy for your in the course or furtherance of business, the input will be allowed. That is what is section number 16 subsection 1, and there is nothing important in this specific section. Now we need to discuss about this section number 16 subsection 2. And section number 16 subsection 2 is the overriding section over section number 16 subsection 1. Okay, I also forget to share with you one specific information, that now onwards on each and every Sunday we are going to come up with a webinar, a short webinar on a section. जैसे आज हम लोगों ने section 16 subsection 2 पे बात कर रहे हैं, हर एक दिन हम लोग हर संडे को हम लोग एक स्पेसिफिक सेक्शन पे बात करने वाले हैं. We are going to talk on a specific section on each and every Sunday, so that our knowledge will be enhanced in a GST law in a very detailed way. Okay, now as per section number 16 subsection 1, and this section number 16 subsection 2 says that whatever is written in the section number 16 subsection 1, taxpayer will be eligible to claim the input tax credit only and only after the satisfaction of all the conditions of section number 16 subsection 2. That means taxpayer will be eligible to claim the input tax credit only and only after the satisfaction of all the conditions which is mentioned in section number 16 subsection 2. That is what is the point. So for that purpose there is requirement that we need to have the idea, the complete idea about the section number 16 subsection 2 of CGST Act. Now we are going to read the each and every condition of section number 16 subsection 2. Now first condition to claim the input tax credit is you have the invoice. If the taxpayer have the invoice, in that case taxpayer will be eligible to claim the input tax credit. Sir, now I just require one thing, your complete concentration should be here on the screen, because now our very basic and now our very advanced level of discussion is going on. So you just need to be very much concentrate, because पांच कंडीशन है we all know, बट कभी हम लोगों ने डीपली उन कंडीशन पे बात ही नहीं की. Or at the time of any litigation, at the time of business audit, at the time of departmental audit, departmental authority will come up with multiple type of penalties, multiple type of penal provisions only on account of that section number 16 subsection 2 की condition. Because हमारे दिमाग में एक चीज सेट है, there is a set provision in our mind that the maximum amount of penalty will only be due to only be due to valuation, only be due to input tax credit, only be due to supply. These are the three figures which is there in our mind. No any other factor is there on which account of that we are thinking that there may be a litigation, there may be chances of litigation. But as per my opinion and as per my study, the 70% of the litigations are only due to this place of supply and time of supply, which is related to the input tax credit. बट हम लोग कभी इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट को, हम लोग कभी आईटीसी को प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई और टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखते ही नहीं है. We are not going to check that input tax credit from the time of supply or place of supply perspective. That is what is the biggest mistake, or this is the initial stage of your our mistake. Okay, so today we are going to discuss that input tax credit from a very different perspective. Okay, now just first condition to claim the input tax credit is your invoice. So if I want to claim the input tax credit, in that case the first mandatory condition is that I have the tax invoice of that particular purchase. Now if I have tax invoice, in that case this is sufficient or okay? No, this invoice should be in a perfect way, should be in a correct format. Invoice number should be matched with GSTR to be written. Now we are matching that input tax credit from GSTR to be written. Okay, we also have certain software so that we are going to reconcile the input tax credit, or our client is also going to reconcile the input tax credit. But कभी आपने ध्यान दिया है कि we are going to match the invoice number is same or not? Because I just want to share with you the crux of law. That means only invoice is not sufficient. As per the requirement of invoice, in the various rules in CGST rules, there is a requirement that invoice should be in a perfect way, with perfect invoice number, with perfect description, with all other details. So when you will reconcile the GSTR to be written from the GSTN common portal, GSTR to be written with the books of accounts, I just want to ask that question from all of you, that are you comparing the invoice date or invoice number from the GSTR to be written with the books? Just this is my question from all of you, and I just want reply from each one of you. Are you comparing the invoice number while reconciling the GSTR to be with the books of accounts? Then after I will share you the effect. Because recently departmental authorities are coming with multiple notices on account of reconciliations, multiple notices on account of compliance failure. Okay, so we need to be very much careful for that particular aspect. Are you comparing the invoice number? Suppose in GSTR to be written, if invoice number is D09, but if in your books of accounts client is going to book that purchase as a 09 only, are you comparing these type of invoice number? Just provide your reply in the chat box on fastest basis. I am not receiving answer from you, from your side. As per our discussion, this session should be interactive so that it will be more convenient for me to discuss certain important things with all of you. If you are not comparing the same, in that case, you may comment in the chat box that we are not comparing the same. Now chalo, we'll discuss the effect of this particular specific thing, because I suppose, because I am also handling multiple audits, and in 80% of the cases we are not going to compare the invoice number while reconciling the GSTR to be written. Okay, so for that purpose I just want to share with you certain specific thing. When you are going to reconcile the input tax credit from the GSTR to be written, at that time you also need to check the invoice number. Because suppose if on GSTN common portal the invoice number is D09, and if the client is going to book the same as 09 only, in that case that input will not be eligible to the particular client. This is a internal control failure, because as per the GSTN Council, there is a special requirement that when you are going to check the data, when you are going to check the particular financials of your client, in that case you also need to focus on the internal control. So if you are going to check the invoice number of your client's books of accounts, in that case you can easily identify there is any invoice number which is wrongly mentioned in the particular books of accounts. You just need to rectify the same. You just need to suggest to your client that you should rectify these particular type of invoice number in your books of accounts. That is what is the thing which we need to do. And if we are not going to rectify these things, in that case, at the time of departmental audit, at the time of business audit, if departmental authority will come up with these type of changes, in that case your client will directly communicate you that what you have done in our particular written filing. So that is what is the effect. We need to check the invoice number very carefully. Now, second condition, the taxpayer has received the goods or services. For claiming the input tax credit, the first condition is that the invoice is to be there with the taxpayer. Second condition is that taxpayer has received the goods. Suppose there is a specific entry which is there in the GSTR to be written. There is a specific entry in the GSTR to be written, that is 30th of April 2023. And this goods is supplied from the Maharashtra, and your client is at Rajasthan. In that case, is it possible to receive that goods within one day from Maharashtra to Rajasthan? Big no. This is not possible. So in that case, how that client can claim the input tax credit? Because as per section 16 subsection 2 of CGST Act, the input will only be available when the goods has been received by the particular taxpayer. So in this specific case, when you are going to check the GSTR 3B written, or when you are going to file the GSTR 3B written on the GSTN common portal, at that time you also need to check the GSTR 2B written, and in that case you need to check all the entries which is on 30th of April, 29th of April. That means on the last day or second last day of the month. If there is any purchase, in that case we just need to verify that particular thing, that the same input, the goods has already been received or not. And if that goods has not been received, in that case that input will be claimed in the next month. Okay, now बोलोगे सर इसका इफेक्ट क्या होगा? So just understand the effect of this silly mistake. Suppose the goods has been received in May month. Okay, the goods has been received in May month, but invoice is for the April month. So taxpayer has claimed the input tax credit in April month. Okay. Now at the time of business audit, after 2 years, after 3 years, department has come up with the business audit. At the time of business audit, department bolega, Mr. Sachin, you had claimed this input tax credit in April month, but you was not eligible to claim the same because you have not received the goods. Or how they identify the same? Through your GSTR to be written, and you will be eligible for the same in the May month. So you need to reverse it. So Sachin bolega, yes, okay, no problem, I will reverse it now. Okay, and I will claim the May month input tax credit. At that time, department will say, Sachin, you need to reverse the input tax credit, but now you will not be eligible to claim any type of input tax credit for the May month, because the timeline of section 16 subsection 4 has already been lapsed. सो हेयर ड्यूल इफेक्ट इज देयर. इनपुट रिवर्सल भी करना पड़ेगा और वापस क्लेम करने की अपॉर्चुनिटी भी आपको नहीं मिलेगी. दैट इज व्हाट इज द इम्पैक्ट, दैट इज व्हाट इज द इफेक्ट ऑफ दिस सिली मिस्टेक. For that purpose, I am saying you that when you are going to reconcile the input tax credit, whenever we are going to reconcile the input tax credit, at the same time we also need to check the invoice date, and through that invoice date we just need to confirm that the goods has already been received or not. Because अभी client बोलता है all the responsibilities are mine, but at the time of departmental audit, at the time of business audit, आपका client आपको बोलेगा सर आप फीस ज्यादा ले लेते हैं बट आपने गड़बड़ क्यों किया, या फिर why you have not checked the data. So this is our responsibility, that we are going, when we are going to prepare the reconciliations of GSTR to be written, at that time we need to focus on the invoice number, invoice date. And why this is so much important, I had already discussed. Okay, so we have total two condition we had covered. First condition is that invoice is there, and invoice should be in perfect format. Okay, ऐसी वैसी invoice नहीं चलेगी, invoice should be in perfect format, and goods has already been received. These are the two conditions for claiming the input tax credit. Now third condition, the same input tax credit is reflected in GSTR to be written. The same input tax credit and reflected in the GSTR to be written. Whatever type of input tax credit which is there in the GSTR to be written, you will be eligible for that input tax credit only. If there will be any other input tax credit, now the same is to be reflected in the GSTR to be written. If any input tax credit which is not reflected in the GSTR to be written, in that case that input tax credit will not be available. Now at that time you also need to verify the invoice number, you also need to verify the invoice date, you also need to verify the invoice value, you also need to verify the taxable value. All these type of parameters we need to check while reconciling the data. Okay, so that is what is the important, which is third condition we have. So first condition is invoice should be there, second condition goods has been received, third condition the same input tax credit is reflected in the GSTR to be written, third fourth condition. Now fourth condition, your supplier has paid the taxes and filed the return. That is what is the condition which is there. Okay, so these are the five conditions which is there. First condition, invoice should be there. Second condition, reflected in GSTR to be written. Third condition, goods has already been received. Fourth condition, supplier has paid the taxes and filed the return. After fulfillment of all these conditions, only when you will be eligible to claim the input tax credit. Okay, now importance of reconciliations. So your importance of reconciliation is from invoice number, invoice date, invoice value, not in party, not in portal. These type of parameters which is required to fulfill the reconciliations. Okay, अगर हम लोग ये सारे के सारे पॉइंट रिकंसाइल करवा लेते हैं, ओनली इन दैट केस वी कैन इंश्योर दैट द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट विच इज क्लेम्ड बाय द टैक्स पेयर इज completely correct. Okay, so when we are filing the return, we just need to prepare a mechanism, we just need to prepare a specific technique through that all these type of reconciliation should be ready, because now there is a focus of the government not only on the revenue leakages, government has a focus on the internal control as well. Okay, during the business audit, during the departmental audit, they are going to check the internal control as well, they are going to check the internal control as well. Okay, that is what is the point which is there. Now entry of wrong invoice date also plays a very important role. So आपको time of supply का importance यहाँ पे पता चला होगा. If I am going to put any wrong date, or if I am going to claim any input tax credit before receiving the goods, in that case that input will not be allowed to me, and at the time of business audit department is going to reverse the same, and you also need to pay the interest. And now if you are going to say that now I want to claim the input tax credit, in that case also you will not be eligible to claim that input tax credit. That is what is the effect. Okay, now invoice number is also a very important key to identify the internal control weaknesses. Also when you are going to prepare the refund application, if your client is fall under the definition of inverted duty structure, or if your client is under the export without payment of tax, in that case you have to file the refund application. Okay, you have to file the refund application. In that specific case, if you are going to file the refund application, in that specific scenario, in that specific situation, you also need to provide the complete reconciliation of the input tax credit, and that reconciliation should be with the invoice number, with the invoice date, with the taxable value. Because एक बार हो सकता है डिपार्टमेंटल अथॉरिटी कैन पास योर रिफंड एप्लीकेशन, बट एट द टाइम ऑफ बिजनेस ऑडिट, एट द टाइम ऑफ डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिट, एंड एज वी ऑल नो दैट आपने जो रिफंड क्लेम किया है उसकी भी वापस से ऑडिट वहां पर होती है. सो एट द टाइम ऑफ डिपार्टमेंटल ऑडिट they may ask for certain documents, and if there will be any mismatch in the time of supply, mismatch in the invoice date, in that case they may ask with you for the penal provisions, for the interest, for certain other implications. That is what is the effect of this specific point. Okay, so from reconciliation perspective, there is requirement of invoice number, there is requirement of invoice date, there is requirement of taxable value, or many times there may be a situation in that case certain invoices are reflected in GSTR to be written, but the same is not available, in books of accounts. The same is not available in books of accounts. In that case, whether that input tax credit is available, नो, बिकॉज सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 की सारी कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई नहीं होती है, तब तक यू विल नॉट बी एलिजिबल टू क्लेम द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. इन दैट केस यू हैव टू आस्क विथ योर टैक्स पेयर, you have to ask with the taxpayer that why this input tax credit is reflected in GSTR to be written and you had not put the entry in the books of accounts. What is the reason? Okay, so that is what is the thing we need to do during our return filing purposes. Now a biggest problem is that because many peoples are facing that particular issue, and we are also facing the same issue in our office, that how we can reconcile the invoice number, invoice date, taxable value. Okay, so for that purpose we have developed one specific AI tool, we can say artificial intelligence से जनरेटेड एक टूल हम लोगों ने डेवलप किया है. वी कैन से दैट टूल इज एज अ एआई टूल और दैट टूल इज एज अ आईटी टूल. ओके, आई जस्ट वांट टू गिव यू a brief detail about that IT tool, and I just want to share with you the functionality of that IT tool. Okay, there is no any purpose of advertisement. Actually we had provided this IT tool to maximum to multiple number of professionals and multiple number of departmental authorities. Okay, they are very happy with this specific tool and they are doing the reconciliations very easily. Hence I just want to share with you the functionality of this specific tool. Okay, because nowadays the biggest problem for a professional, for a taxpayer, for a tax authority is that, sir, how we can reconcile the invoice number, how we can reconcile the invoice date. And there are a lot of softwares are there in the market, but the software is not going to provide us the reportings. If I want to check the data from my supplier, that from whom I had bought the maximum amount of purchase during the month, in that case there is no any utilities there through that I can check the same in fraction of seconds. Okay, so to solve all these type of issues we had developed this input reconciliation tool. Okay, I just want to give you the brief about this input reconciliation tool, and through this tool one can easily prepare the reconciliation. So I just want your concentration on the screen, on the usability of this specific input reconciliation tool. Okay, this is not a part of advertisement, this is just a information. If you want to develop, you may develop these type of tools. Okay, so that is what is the thing which I want to share with you, how this tool is working. I just want to share with you the mechanism. You just need to download the GSTR to be written from the GSTN common portal, and you just need to demand the GST file, that is GSTR2 return generated from the client software, and you just need to put that both the file in a particular folder in your system. Then this software will automatically fetch the data from that two files and prepare the reconciliation. There is no any manual involvement is required, or there is no any manual intervention is required. Just two things are there. You just need to take one sheet for any number of periods. You can download it for 1 month, for 3 months, for 6 months, for 1 year, for 5 years. You just need to take the GSTR2B from portal, and you just need to take the GSTR2B from the books and put both the files in a specified folder. This reconciliation tool will automatically prepare the reconciliations. And in this specific tool, here is the option to select the period. Suppose you want a reconciliation for a quarter, for 6 months. Suppose here I have put the filter of April 2023 to December 2023 here. is the key box. Okay, you can select the parameters. Now if you want to check the invoice date mismatch, in that case you just need to click on this particular thing. You will find out the entries in which there is a mismatch in invoice date. Okay, here your invoice date is 1st of May, but as per GST and common portal the invoice date is 18th of April. So you can easily guide your client that this is the issue, you can rectify the same in your books of accounts. So the books of accounts and the GST and portal detail will always be matched. Okay, now if you want to find out the invoice number mismatch, that what is the invoice in which there is a mismatch in invoice number, as in this particular sheet there is no any invoice number mismatch, in that case no entry is there. If there will be any mismatch in the invoice number, in that case the same will be there. If you found out the invoice value, in that case the same will be there, as in this specific sheet there is no any invoice mismatch is there. Now if you want to check the match invoices, in that case your all the match invoices are there. Now if you want to check any entry which is not entered in the books of accounts but the same is reflected in the GSTR to be written, in that case you just need to click on this particular point, the complete detail will be there. Now if you want to check the input tax credit which is not available in the GSTR to be written but the same is available in the books of accounts, in that case you just need to click on the not in portal, so that these entries are there. That means these are the invoices which is not available in the GSTR to be written. You can easily download that particular sheet in Excel, in PDF, and you can share it with your client. Now if you want to find out the tax mismatch, मेरे IGST, CGST, SGST के फिगर में कहाँ डिफरेंस है from the books of accounts and from the GSTR to be, in that case also you can check the list if there is any mismatch. Okay, now this is the point of reconciliations about the invoice number, about the invoice date, about certain other parameters. Now while filing the GSTR 3B return, there is a biggest question that if there is any technique so that I can find out my eligible input tax credit. So yes, there is a panel. The second page is related to your consolidate update. This particular file, this particular consolidate update will show you the exact figure of your eligible input tax credit for the relevant period. So in this specific case, your eligible input tax credit under IGST, CGST, SGST is there. And if you want to find out the ineligible input tax credit, in that case your ineligible input tax credit is there, which is not available on the GSTR 2B portal. Okay, now this is the thing. Now if you want to analyze the purchase of your client, or if your client is wants to analyze the price, in that case just there is a party wise purchase is also there. You just need to select the party, the complete invoices of the related parties there. Okay, I am just going to share with you the particular usability of this AI tool. You can easily develop these type of tools. Okay, there is no any type of advertisement is there. The point is that I just want to share with you the role of AI tool. Okay, because many professionals are using this specific tool and they are going to work very effectively. If you want to find out that from whom buyer I had bought a particular amount of purchase, you just need to select the name of buyer. Suppose you want to find out the invoices of MK agency, you just need to click on MK agencies. All those invoices of MK agency will be there. Now if you want to check the इंटरनल कंट्रोल ऑफ द एंटिटी, आप उस एंटिटी का केवल इंटरनल कंट्रोल देखना चाह रहे हो, और यू आर जस्ट वांट टू चेक द overall functionality of that entity, in that case this is chart box is also there, and there is a pointer. If there is light blue, in that case invoice date mismatch. If there is red, in that case not in portal, so that you can easily identify that in a particular specific period how much amount of invoices have certain problems. So that you can easily identify the data input of that particular client. Okay, that is what is the point which is there. So this is the functionality of this tool. This is not a reconciliation, not only a reconciliation tool, this is a reporting tool as well. The many people are asking the price of this IT tool or this AI tool. This AI tool की price अभी हमारा कोई profit margin नहीं है, because we had also developed this tool from somewhere else. Okay, and we are going to use that particular tool in our office as well. So the price is just a cost of this particular tool, that is 4,000 rupees with unlimited use. You can use this tool unlimited for multiple parties. You just need to put the file, the reconciliation will be there in fraction of seconds. Okay, and also if you want to put the scheduled refresh, in that case also there is a option, वो फोल्डर को अपने आप ये हर 2 घंटे में, हर 4 घंटे में रिफ्रेश कर लेगा. the price of this tool is 4,000 rupees, but for today or for tomorrow there is a offer of company, this tool will be provided to the professionals at 3,000 only. Okay, so this is just a information. If you want to update these type of tools, or if you want to innovate these type of tools, in that case you may innovate these particular type of tools for ease of your business. Because now if we are thinking that we'll do our practice in a traditional way, in a conventional way, in that case this will not work. Okay, we need to take the help of IT, we need to take the help of certain IT tools. And the logic of sharing these type of information with you, the basic purpose is that अभी भी मैं कई सारे वेबिनार लेता हूं, कई सारे सेमिनार लेता हूं. इन दैट केस वी आर फाइंडिंग दैट मल्टीपल पीपल आर फाइलिंग द रिटर्न मैनुअली, or they are preparing the reconciliations manually. With that objective, with that intent, I am going to share these type of certain IT tools at the end of my session, so that one can take steps for the innovations, one can take steps for certain AI use, so that we can prepare the very basic reports. Okay, although we have provided this tool to our clients as well, so that they can also check or analyze their purchase party, or they are very happy that because from this tool we can easily find out our premier purchaser, we can find out all the invoices of a single on a single click. Okay, all these facilities are there. Okay, if you want to buy this specific tool, in that case we may share with you the link. This is completely depend on you. So now, the most important thing is there, which we are not going to focus, that is my purchase analysis party wise. When you will check the data of your client, when you will file the GSTR 9 return of your client, at that time, you just need to ensure the party wise purchase analysis. Okay, because when department is come up with the business audit, or when department is come up with the special audit, in that case you just need to check these type of things as well. Because department is going to check the party wise purchase, or if there is a huge purchase from a single party, in that case department may ask for certain certifications or certain confirmations. Because if there is a huge purchase from a single party, in that case this is an indication of the fake invoicing, this is an indication of the paper transaction, this is the doubt which is there in the mind of departmental authority. So this is my suggestion to you, you just need to analyze the party wise purchase as well at the year end, at the mid of the year, so that you can provide a best quality of services to your client. Okay, now Mukesh ji, if there is any input tax credit or any invoice which is showing in my GSTR to be written, and if is not related to you, in that case there is no requirement to show the same in your GSTR 3 be written. Okay, there is no requirement to show the same. If there is Manoji, if there is any goods which is in transit, in that case you will not be eligible to claim input tax credit, because many time taxpayers are claiming the input tax credit, but this is not allowed as per section number 16 subsection 2 of CGST Act, because your goods is not received to your principal place of business, and until and unless your goods has not received, this will be not treated that your input tax, you are eligible for the input tax credit. So if anyone has any question, then please ask the same. In this specific session, we had covered the analysis of section number 16 subsection 1, section number 16 subsection 2. As per section number 16 subsection 2, there is a specific conditions to claim the input tax credit. First condition, there is a requirement of invoice. You have received the goods, input is reflected in the GSTR to be written, supplier has filed the return and paid the taxes. From 1st January 2022, if there will be any input tax credit which is reflected in GSTR to a return, in that case the same will be reflected in to be written. Okay, your system is very much sufficient for that. But if there is certain invoices which is not reflected in GSTR to be written, in that case there is certain system failures, you need to approach with the GSTN help desk. Okay, for that specific purposes. But if the supplier has filed the return and paid the taxes, in that case you are eligible to claim the input tax credit, and the same will be reflected. Due to certain technical glitches, if this will not available, in that case this is the option. If anyone wants to buy this specific tool, or you want to know more about this tool, in that case I may share with you the number of my team. So if you want to buy this specific tool, in that case the number is shared. You may text over this particular WhatsApp number. They will share with you the link to buy this specific tool. Most probably the price of 3000, that is 25% discount, is available for today only. Complete support will be there if you want to buy this specific tool, or if you want to use that specific tool for ease of your business, for ease of your professional services. Okay, because we have not decided a very huge amount of price for this specific tool, because we are providing this tool at cost only. There is no any margin, profit margin is there. We are just going to provide for the use of professional. This is unlimited use for unlimited parties on a single system. Okay, that is what is the thing which is there, and this is completely on cloud based. You can also log in another system. There is no issue with that. So if there is any other question is there, in that case I just request everyone to provide your questions in the chat box. And if there is no any question is pending, in that case I request your valuable feedback in the chat box. I just require your valuable feedback in the chat box. And if you want to buy this AI tool, in that case the number is already shared, 9460236167. You just need to text over that particular WhatsApp number. The complete detail will be shared with you. I am expecting your valuable feedback at the end of the session. So please provide your valuable feedback so that next Sunday we will take one more section. Next Sunday we are planning to discuss on section number 17, subsection 5 of CGST Act, that is block the credit. So I suppose there is no any other question is pending. So thank you everyone for joining the session. Thank you everyone for spending time with me on this Sunday evening. And I suppose this session will be helpful for you in your day-to-day practices. Okay. So I am going to sign off for today's. We'll meet you soon. Thank you. Bye bye for the patience learning. If you want to know about this IT tool, in that case, we have already shared the detail, already shared the WhatsApp number. So you may connect for that particular thing. If invoice is related to the last month and the goods is received in the next month, in that case, input will be available in the next month only. So thank you everyone. Bye bye. And we'll meet you soon in another webinar on next Sunday. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.